Thank you for joining us at the Psyched Up Cinema Weather Center, where we're talking about the weather.
Uh, it rained. It's wet out.
And there was an earthquake, and there was a solar eclipse.
Here's my forecast. There's gonna be more branches on the ground.
Yeah, probably.
It windy.
It do be windy. Welcome back to our show. Last week we covered Shutter Island. Technically, fun fact, this was supposed to be our first episode. It sucked, so now we're re-recording.
It was really bad.
It was really bad. I fucked up the recording last episode, so hopefully I don't do it again this episode. But I think we should be fine. So today we'll be talking about To Die For, the 1995 film directed by Gus Van Sant. Have you ever seen a Gus Van Sant movie?
I have no idea. Honestly, I don't even think about who directs, produces, nothing when I watch a movie. I just watch it.
Have you ever seen Good Will Hunting?
No.
Okay, that would be the only one that I think you've seen.
Yeah, you would think.
He directed obviously this movie, Good Will Hunting, my own Private Idaho, which is like an older movie with Rivers Phoenix and what was I supposed to say Joaquin Phoenix, Keanu Reeves, a pretty good movie, and he directed Milk, which is a biopic. I'm pretty sure you've heard of Milk.
Milk?
Yeah, you know you've heard of Milk, right?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised. My dad has a funny story about seeing Milk.
Oh.
He went to go see like this action movie, and he was just going by himself because he just wanted to kill time, which is weird because my dad doesn't even like to watch movies, so I don't know why the hell he would go to the movies by himself, anyways. But anyways, so these two guys are in front of him, and they're like two for Milk, and he doesn't really know what he wants to see yet, but he wants to go see this action movie. But he's like, oh no, this Milk movie sounds interesting, and then he's like one for Milk, so he goes to see Milk by himself.
Let me guess, he didn't like it.
I don't think he. I don't know, honestly. It was just funny because it was so swayed by the two guys buying tickets for Milk right in front of him. Anyways, and then Gus Van Sant directed a almost shot-for-shot remake of Psycho, the 1960 film. His remake is not good at all. I've only seen a few of his movies, and that movie is horrible. To Die For is a satirical black comedy. It grossed 21 million in the box office, and I think 41 million worldwide. There was kind of like some disputing numbers, but I think that might be right. It placed fourth in its opening weekend. Seven was number one at the box office, and it was in its third weekend.
That's understandable. It's
Yeah.
a good movie.
That makes sense. And fun fact, Batman Forever was in his 17th weekend when this premiered, which Nicole Kidman is also in that movie. So, budget of 5 to 10 million. Couldn't really find it. The film was overall well received. People were stating that Nicole Kidman was obviously a highlight in the movie, which we'll talk about when we talk about the movie. And yeah, some alternative casting. This was supposed to be a longer subject before, but I'm just going to kind of get right into the meat and potatoes. Ellen DeGeneres was supposed to play Suzanne Stone.
I would not be able to take her seriously at all.
Oh God, no! I think this is before she has her own talk show. So obviously, like when we were growing up with her, we know her from the Ellen show.
Was she like serious about acting before she got her talk show?
No, I think she was in like a sitcom or something like that. Kind of like how what the fuck am I forgetting his name? Who's the guy who plays Marty McFly?
I don't know. I'm not good with names.
Michael J. Fox. She was kind of like Michael J. Fox, where Michael J. Fox got his start in All in the Family, I think. So she had a start similar in like a sitcom, but then I don't think she ever really adjusted to movies. Like she's obviously in like some things, like she's in like Finding Nemo as Dory and shit like that. So I think she does a lot more voices than she does acting. But even then, I can't even imagine her in this movie whatsoever.
All I would be thinking about is Dory and racism.
I don't think she's. Is she racist?
Yeah, I think so.
I think she just. I think I'm gonna have to look this up before, because unless I'm gonna get sued. I'm
Right,
pretty sure she just abused her cast.
Oh, I'm gonna Google it. She A former employee on Ellen's show, who was a black woman, said that she experienced racism
Oh, okay. All right.
on the set. I don't know if it was directly from Ellen or if it was more
About the
like
show.
the vibe.
Yeah. I know she was awful to her crew. That's why the
Yeah.
Ellen show doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, she said Ellen has built her worldwide brand on the motto "Be kind," but behind the scenes, current and former employees on her leading daytime shows say they faced racism, fear, and intimidation. That wasn't a direct quote. That's just what the article says.
Oh, okay. Who posted that article? Was it Variety or something like that, or?
It's BuzzFeed news, so take it with a grain of salt. That was just the first thing that I could find when I pulled up, but New York Times also reported
Okay.
on it.
All right. At least it's multiple reports, not like
Yeah.
And usually BuzzFeed, I don't know. Usually when they post like articles like that, usually it's some backed in research. I think people give shit to BuzzFeed because it's like top 10 reasons why you're a fox or some shit like that.
Which Barbie movie is your personality
Yeah, exactly.
based off of how long your toenails are?
Yeah, it's definitely a BuzzFeed article. Anyways, so good movie. Let's talk about the movie for a little bit, and then before we dive into what the psychological topic is, we'll bring up the true story that this movie is based off of. Because it's loosely based on a true story. It's technically based off a book of the same name, and it's we'll talk about it when we get to the true story, but it's kind of only loosely based.
You know, you forgot the most important part about the production itself, and that is the composer.
Oh yeah, Danny Elfman composed it. Also, Danny Elfman composed because I just watched it and they composed Good Will Hunting. So I think
Oh.
like him and Gus Van Sant must have like a decent relationship.
Love Danny Elfman.
He's so good. I was actually listening to the Nightmare Before Christmas score and he like sings
So
for Jack
good.
Skellington. He's so good in that.
Love him.
So let's talk about the movie. What did you think of the movie?
I have to say, I didn't see it going the way it did because part of me wanted to like Suzanne. I'm just the kind of person that likes to see the good in other people. So I was like, maybe she's not that bad. Maybe she's not a terrible person, and she's just like quirky and a little bit strange. But
Yeah.
obviously, as things go on, you can't really keep that opinion.
Yeah, she definitely has. I get where you're coming from because she has this drive, and I think you kind of respect her hustle,
Yeah.
even though she's very weird about it. She does have that hustle and that backing, so you kind of like want to see her succeed.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for a female with motivation to succeed in an industry that they're not welcomed into. So I guess that's why I kind of wanted to see her win in the beginning.
Yeah, and even there's an implication that the only way women succeed in the industry is by sucking men's dicks, basically, literally.
Yeah.
So, which I'm sure we'll talk about that scene once we get to the manipulation. But what point in the movie did you like turn on Suzanne? Was it when she like decides to kill her husband, or was it a little bit like before or after?
I would say before, when she really starts talking down to the kids and trying to get them on her side, and she puts them down to bring herself up, and that's where I was like, ugh.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
makes
like
sense.
that.
And literally abusing a minor, like having sex with him.
Yeah, there was that too.
Yeah, that's the weird part with baby Joaquin Phoenix, which is
Yeah.
it's so weird seeing him like so young because I'm used to
Yeah.
just seeing him as an old man. Well, not old man, like older guy. But everyone was really good in this movie. It kind of has, it just it has this nice like ambiance to it. I think like the town and all the other characters just kind of build this like certain energy in the movie, if that makes sense.
I like the mockumentary style type movies.
Yeah, and it's not like a huge part of the movie, but it's kind of
Yeah.
like a nice surprise when it starts. I think when I first watched it, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, it's so weird because it starts off with the sister, more in the mockumentary style. It starts off with Suzanne Stone's like confession piece, kind of. Not really a confession because she doesn't confess anything. But at
She
the end of the
cries
movie,
her crocodile tears.
right? Yeah, and she basically it's like her fake story, so she could sell it to Hollywood in parentheses.
Quotations.
Quotations, yes, not parentheses.
I think there's just like, I don't know how to describe it. There's just such a charm to this movie because every single one of the characters had its little quirks
Right.
and makes them interesting and makes you want to watch.
Yeah. I think that's the better way of putting that. Like, it has this energy to it. I think every performance, and you're right, every character has their own like unique trait and stuff like that. And usually, sometimes side characters will get like shoveled off to the side and stuff like that. But I feel like every character has their like moment.
Yeah. By kind of the middle, I started really rooting for Lydia. I
Yeah,
was like, you're better than this. Come on.
yeah. Lydia's really good. I mean, all the kids are good in this movie.
Yeah, they were.
I think I love the moment with Casey Affleck where he tries to like look up her skirt by like dropping the pencil, and he's and then the principal has that nice moment with him. Well, it's not a nice moment, but it's like, oh, it's a good moment to watch a movie where he's like, her husband's dad is probably has mafia ties because he's Italian, and I like how like all this shit is like building to that, like, because the Italian mob thing is really only mentioned 2 or 3 times or something like that. It's
Yeah.
mentioned on the talk show by Suzanne's dad, and then it's mentioned by the principal, and I think that's it. There might be another mention, but it's a nice like subtle way to, or like just because like you think they're offhanded comments, but then in the end of it, that is like Suzanne's demise is this mafia hitman killing her.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really pick up on that. I would have to watch the movie again to kind of pick up on the little bits of foreshadowing, kind of like with Shutter Island.
Yeah. Something that I actually did notice on the most recent watch is that the movie shows Suzanne's, well, not shows it, but heavily implies Suzanne's death, like right in the beginning. Because when they're doing the Suzanne, or they're in the talk show with the parents, each of the parents, there's this cutaway because Suzanne's dad mentions the lake, and there's like, it cuts to like the lake house, and then there's a scream, and then it cuts back. And I think that's supposed to be Suzanne.
I can't think of anything else it would be.
Yeah. I think when you first hear it, you think it might be the scenario that Suzanne's dad is referring to, but it's actually Suzanne. I mean, it's up to interpretation because you don't see anything; you just hear her scream.
Yeah.
But when I watched it this time, that's how I kind of inferred it.
Think I'd have to rewatch it.
I also love the sister. I forget who she's played by.
Janice.
Yeah, Janice. She's really good in this
Yeah.
too. Another one of those good moments where it's like the side character is really like prevailing, and then they have that scene where she announces that she's going to be like on tour with an ice skating group, and then Suzanne like completely takes over that moment, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about.
Bitch. That part actually made me mad.
Yeah, because it sounds like she's gonna have a kid, and like everyone's freaking out. And
Yeah.
it's like so cringe because instead of saying like, "Oh, none of that sounded," she's like, "Cut, cut, 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 cut." It's like, oh, shut the fuck up.
There are parts like that where I'm like, oh, makes me roll my eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate you.
Yeah, she definitely has moments where, I mean, even though you like you said, you do kind of root for her in the beginning, you definitely see that like darker side of her like kind of seeping through at points. It definitely progresses way more as the movie goes on. One of my favorite lines is when her husband's like playing with some kids at like a barbecue, and he's basically like, "When are we gonna have a kid?" And he was like, "If you wanted to marry a babysitter, you should have married Mary Poppins." Which I think that line is fucking hilarious, but it really does kind of set up her character, or show that other side of her character. It's like, look, I don't want to fucking deal with you.
And it also kind of shows that everything she cares about revolves around me, 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 me.
Right.
I'm the only thing that matters.
Yeah. She also gets offended because she thinks his mom is calling her fat, like by an accidental comment. She's like, "What are you saying? I'm fat?"
Oh, God. Everything's about her.
Yeah. Even the opening, because like she doesn't talk, and I'm pretty sure besides like her confession tape in the beginning, the first thing that she says to other people is telling the sister about like losing weight or doing like weight loss surgery.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the first thing that she says to another character in the movie, I'm pretty sure.
And she really thinks that that's out of the goodness of her heart.
Yeah.
She pitches it like, "Oh, such a good person.
Yeah. Oh, you should get liposuction. She's
I,
like,
I want you to be the best you can be."
yeah. It also shows her how much she cares about her looks more than like anything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a big reason why she doesn't want a baby. She says because like she can't go to like a foreign country to report on the news, which I'm sure that's part of it. But also she doesn't want to look fat on camera.
Yeah. She said one line about like the the camera adding like 10 pounds or something.
Yeah. Yeah, because she says like, "Oh no, I'm trying to lose weight," and then what the fuck is the husband's name? Is it Tony?
Larry? Isn't it Larry?
I think Larry might be. I
But
just want to look it
the husband was like, if you, where would you lose any weight in your feet?
Yeah, in your feet. I just want to look up his name real quick.
I think it's Larry.
I don't want to keep referring to him as the husband. Yeah, it is Larry. Okay.
Let's go.
Epic Larry moment. But yeah, right. The Larry's dad is just like, "Where are you gonna lose it from? Your feet?" It's just like this, like it is crazy how much she.
I didn't realize Dan Schneider was part of this movie.
Schneider. Oh god, we can't mention him.
That's a no subject right now.
I also love. The movie is not like, it doesn't like spend a ton of time with the parents or Larry's sister, which her name is
Janice.
Janice. Okay, I want to make sure. And like you don't spend a ton of time with them, but the moment that they get the call about Larry's death is like such a heartbreaking moment.
Yeah.
Like every time I watch Janice's reaction, I kind of get choked up just because it feels like such a realistic reaction to just like pass out.
Yeah. And everything that she says and does throughout the movie is really in her brother's best interest, even if it's
Yeah.
not perceived that way in the moment.
Yeah. Like she tries to hook him up with other girls
Yeah.
that she thinks would be better for him than Suzanne.
And I can imagine that in his eyes, it's like, "What, you think my wife's not good enough?" Like that would be offensive to him. But from the viewer's standpoint, you're like, "Oh, she's just trying to help."
Yeah.
She would have kept you from getting your ass offed.
Yeah. And probably would have found him a nice Italian lady because it's so they wanted.
With other mob connections.
Oh my god. All the mob connections. They should have a time with like the Sopranos or something like that.
Imagine a family get together and it's just all mob members.
Also, now that I think about it, how many members of the mob live in New Hampshire?
I guess I didn't think about the fact that it takes place in New Hampshire.
Because I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, Sopranos takes place in New York. I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on in New Hampshire? Like, what
Does
town?
New Hampshire have a lot of Italian people? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. Just a lot of people who can't drive, but those people may. But yeah, I don't know if I don't think there's a ton of Italians. I've only been there a few times, but it's not like Boston or anything like that, or
Yeah.
even New York.
Well, New Hampshire doesn't exactly have a lot of like major cities, like big
Yeah.
like congregations of groups of people.
Yeah, what the hell would even be a city in New Hampshire?
Concord.
Oh yeah, okay. There you go. So this is the only one.
I don't think you could call, because when I think New Hampshire, I think of like North Conway.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. You can't call that a city.
Yeah, I feel like it's
That
just like a
doesn't-
popular town.
That's a burb.
Anyways, so there's no Italian connections in New Hampshire, so I don't know why the hell he's
Except
there.
for this family.
Except for this family, they run this town.
Yeah.
They have like no competition. They have a complete monopoly over New Hampshire.
Their mob just runs the entire state.
Yeah.
They just elect mob members by threatening people.
No, they just hire mob members to work in the kitchen at the restaurant. Speaking of which, Larry doesn't get a ton of screen time. Like, you don't know a lot about him. You just know that he loves Suzanne.
Which is why I feel like it's so easy to villainize him in the beginning. Like, oh, he's trying to stand in her way for her career. She just wants to advance her career, and this guy's getting in her way. Because you know more about her than you know about him, it's so easy to accidentally treat him like he's a bad person.
Yeah, but he is like the nicest guy. Like, he's
Yeah.
probably the nicest person in the whole movie.
I would argue that Janice is.
Okay, yeah, Janice, yeah. Well, I said the nicest guy.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Because when I was watching it with my mom, she was like, "Oh, he's so nice," and she's right. He is so
Yeah.
nice. He is probably the nicest guy in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because it's certainly not Joaquin Phoenix or Casey Affleck. It's definitely not Suzanne's dad or Larry's dad.
Yeah, there's not much competition.
Yeah, exactly. And it is kind of cool to see this like nice guy, probably almost perfect, maybe besides like not fully supporting her dreams. But on the other hand, it's not like she supports his dreams, because what I was going to mention is how passionate he is about the restaurant.
Yeah.
But she doesn't give a shit about that.
She does not give one fuck.
Yeah. And I think it goes both ways, and I think you're right, because we spend more time with Suzanne. We get her drive and her passion. We want to see her succeed, but we
Yeah.
don't see Larry busting his ass at the restaurant.
Yeah, you also see Suzanne struggle to break into the industry.
Right. She literally has to, one, take like the ground zero position
Yeah.
and copy a speech from some guy at NBC and say it to her local news station to get hired.
Yeah.
Which, that guy that runs that news station, both those guys are so funny.
Yeah.
He's also a nice guy too, I guess.
That's
Well, he's
true.
not, he's like fine. He's not like evil, but he's also not like a good person.
Yeah.
He's just funny to watch.
There's a lot of mediocre people.
Yeah. I love him and his buddy. I love how they call Suzanne gangbusters. Should we talk about the real story before we hop into this psychology?
Sure.
All right. Based on a true story. Do you remember where she graduated from? The real person?
UNH.
No, it's another state. It's another state known for having crazy people.
Maine? You Maine?
No, go down. Way down. East Coast, but way down.
Florida?
Correct.
Oh, that's right.
So the true story, like I was saying, so this person is named Pamela Smart, but she's not very smart.
Oh.
So the true story is based off of this woman just hiring these teenagers. I think having an affair with them. I think we'll get to it. And killing her husband.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah, because she claims that she didn't do it, but I mean, she got arrested for it. Graduated from Florida State University in communications and moved to New Hampshire in 1989. Which, now that I think about it, that's only 6 years before this movie came out. So that's not that long.
What I got out of that statement is, who the fuck chooses to move to New Hampshire?
I mean, I guess if you like the mountains.
I guess, but...
Pamela Smart's marriage began deteriorating when she learned of her husband's infidelity, and she soon entered into an affair with a 15-year-old student named Billy Flynn. Then, on May 1st, 1990, the lifeless body of Gregory Smart was discovered in the couple's condo, with police suspecting he had been murdered during a burglary.
Ooh.
So you can kind of already see like the similarities between the two. I think like the action of Larry Gang murder is what this movie is inspired off of.
Yeah.
Pamela admitted no fault, but the two teens involved in the murder, Pete Randall and Vince Lattime Jr., confessed she devised the plan, and then arrested August 1st, 1990, at the age of 22. So she's like a year older than us at the time.
Have you forgotten how old I am? She's a year older?
No, I mean a year younger. Well, I said a year older than us, but I meant to say a year younger than us.
That's crazy. That's not something that I ever would dream of at 22.
Yeah. Well, one, moving to New Hampshire and then killing her husband.
Or being married.
Yeah. Or having sex with a 15-year-old.
Yeah, that as well.
The teens got off on parole, and because the teens got off on parole, there was a lot of talk about the discrimination in the justice system that these two teen men get off, but Pamela Smart has to go to jail.
So there's no character that Lydia is inspired by? There's no person?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay.
Which does sort of make sense, because I feel like Lydia is more of a way for Suzanne Stone to project herself onto her. Because she gets all these fake promises of being her manager in California and stuff like that, and then moving out there together.
Yeah, I guess it's more to emphasize what a shitty person Suzanne is.
Yeah. But in response to the discrimination in the legal system, the Associate Attorney General, Jeffrey Sturslin. Why do all these people have weird names? These people in New Hampshire have real names.
I'm the wrong person to be asked that question.
He wrote this. Her attempts to blame others for her incarceration are a reflection of not only her guilt, but her inability to be rehabilitated.
Damn.
That's a hard-ass sentence.
Well, I mean, if you can never own up to what you've done, how are you ever going to not then repeat it?
Right.
Or do something just as shitty?
Yeah. And to completely... And she still, when we get to this quote, she continues to say that she didn't do it and she's falsely imprisoned. So, she's dying on this hill. Fun fact, Smart hated this movie.
Of course she did.
She said, it's almost like when you see a car accident and you think to yourself, why am I looking at this? Later, the reality sinks in that people actually believe that because they've seen it on TV.
Of course, nobody who's ever done anything shitty likes when a mirror is held up to them to ask them to take a good hard look at themselves.
Yeah. And she's also mad that Nicole Kidman never went to jail to go talk to her about her character.
As if she would have talked to her.
Yeah, it's a completely different character. It's not like a biopic.
Yeah.
It'd be like... I don't even know what it'd be like. This is just a stupid fucking thing. It would be like... I can't even think of an example.
It's just ridiculous because obviously because it's not meant to directly be an iteration of the true story, like, they're different people.
Right.
So why does she need to know how this woman is in real life if they're supposed to be different, distinct people? Like, it's clearly not like factually correct retelling of the story.
Right. Yeah, it's not like a 1-for-1. This is Pamela Smart and she killed her husband or whatever. Obviously, there's differences between the story. Like, Larry's a good person, and it sounds like this Pamela Smart's husband was probably not the nicest guy, considering he was cheating on her. Yeah. And he probably forced her to move to New Hampshire. So, I mean, that's those two strikes right there.
And, you know, Pamela Smart wasn't murdered by the Italian mob and
that's true.
Put in a lake.
That's true, yeah. So, when asked if she feels like she's been rehabilitated, she says this. Well, I think that when I was younger, I really cared mostly about, like most people do when they're young, whatever makes me happy at that moment. But that is totally not the person I am now.
You don't like things that make you happy anymore? That's kind of sadistic.
But that is totally not the person I am now. Now I worry a lot about other people's feelings, and...
Oh, she's one of those people who would be like, I'm an empath. No, trust me, I'm an empath.
I'm not even done yet. I worry a lot about what other people's feelings, and more than I did before.
Because she cared so much before.
I mean, you're going from like 0 to maybe like 2.
The bar is so fucking low.
Oh, man. Well, That's Pamela Smart for you. She's mad that Nicole Kidman didn't talk to her, and
How dare
I know
she?
she doesn't like the movie either.
Aw.
I mean, at least Nicole Kidman's not serving a life sentence, so.
It's
Let's talk psychology.
true. Ooh. Well, I gotta say I didn't do any research for this because I don't feel like it really warrants research. It more warrants picking apart the things that Suzanne has said and done and kind of looking at the language she uses. So I chose not to do any research also because I'm getting towards finals week and I'm running out of energy and fucks to give for anything currently. But I did screenshot some good quotes.
Should we mention that originally we were going to talk about narcissism?
Sure. Yeah, so originally we were gonna discuss narcissistic personality disorder versus histrionic personality disorder, which one I think Suzanne has, what's the difference between the two, but it ended up turning out as a long-winded tangent, and that's just I'd much rather it be more of a conversation, so kind of switch gears and decided to go with what manipulation looks like in this movie.
Yeah, which I think, kind of diving back like a little bit into what we thought about the movie, I feel like narcissism's kind of like a red herring
What do
for
you mean?
manipulation. I mean, narcissism does have manipulation kind of tied into it, but I feel like Suzanne's character is better at being manipulative than she is being a narcissist.
Well, part of narcissism is you want to have your needs met. And that's what matters
Yeah.
is you, yourself, and you again. And it doesn't really matter what it takes to get that. So oftentimes narcissists will manipulate other people consciously or unconsciously just to get them to do what they want.
Yeah.
So they're kind of hand in hand, but I don't know about the Pamela Stone, whatever.
Pamela Smart.
It's Pamela Smart, whatever. I just mixed the two characters.
Yeah, I mean, just made a hybrid.
And I am not willing to diagnose somebody that I have not met with if they are a real human being. So, yeah, I don't feel super comfortable putting a label on somebody who is based off of a real person, but not fully. Anyways,
Yeah.
that doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, we should clarify that, like, when we do talk about the psychology of this movie, we are not talking about Pamela Smart.
Yeah.
We do not care about Pamela Smart. It was more so just like a funny thing to bring up, but the rest of our talk will be about Suzanne rather than Pamela.
Yeah. So the first quote that really stuck out to me as a form of manipulation is when Suzanne is talking to Lydia about Russell and Jimmy, the two guys who
Yeah.
were kind of in on killing Larry. She said, "It's their word against mine. Who are they? Bunch of 16-year-old losers who grew up in trailers whose parents sit around drinking and screwing their cousins. I'm a professional person, for Christ's sakes. I come from a good home. Who do you think a jury would believe?"
Right. Yeah. And she does that when while Lydia's wearing a wire.
Yeah.
So it's like, but it does kind of beg the question of, because I don't think she was planning to murder Larry when she recruited these kids. Well, I guess the kids signed up when for her little like teenage film project or whatever. So I think it was more so she just got lucky that those kids were not as fortunate.
Yeah. Because it's unfortunately easier to manipulate people who are of some sort of minority or they are of some sort of lower status. Here it would be socioeconomic. They don't have the resources that she does to get into some kind of legal battle. They're not going to be able to get top of the line lawyers to defend themselves. So she knows damn well that she can use her resources against them.
Right. And even just the fact of promising every single one of them something and doesn't return on any of them. Like she promises Lydia that she'll move out to California and Lydia will be her assistant. she promises Jimmy that that they're gonna be together, and that she is gonna get him to be like a sports broadcaster. And then Russell is like the funniest one. He just wants like $1,000 in CDs. Like, that's it.
I think she mocks at least Lydia for believing in what she said, which is so sad because poor Lydia was really buying into this and wanted to be a star
Yeah,
herself, and it made me really sad that she got mocked for putting her trust in somebody who really was trying to build her up and boost her up from her place of insecurity in order to use her.
yeah. And also in that same scene, because like Jimmy's not there, but like he's like outside the condo or the house, whatever they're living in, and Lydia says that Jimmy's heartbroken, and then Suzanne just replies, "Tell him to go see a doctor." Like it's because like I think you know that she's like using these kids, but I don't think you know how badly she's like using the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because part of her manipulation tactic is in the beginning, she's building them up. And she is kind of taking ownership of the growth that they
Mhm.
experience. Um, I keep going back to Lydia, like Lydia's self-esteem. It was very low. She was very self-conscious, and Suzanne kind of built her up so she could then be like, "Oh, I'm the reason that you're doing better. I am responsible for your success."
Yeah,
And she can always go back and use that against her, like, "I did all of this for you, and you're not gonna do one thing for me?"
yeah. And definitely, because you don't see a lot of Lydia's mom, but I don't think Lydia's mom is the most supportive mom, just from like what I've like seen of her. Because she's like barely in the movie, but she also like doesn't do anything.
I honestly can't even remember anything about her.
Yeah, well, she doesn't say anything. She the during like the mockumentary stuff, like she just kind of looks like their house doesn't look like super clean. I don't think she really cares, and she's like watching TV in the background. So I just like don't think Lydia's mom gives a shit. So I think when Suzanne comes up, it's kind of like a role model for Lydia. It's who Lydia kind of wants to aspire to be when she grows up.
Yeah, because like I said, she was deeply self-conscious, but she wanted to overcome that. She wanted to make something of herself, and so she aspired to be like Suzanne, and Suzanne used that against her.
Right. And then even Jimmy's promised love and whatever and being a sports broadcaster, but obviously he doesn't get any of that. I feel like, in my opinion, he was probably the most used out of everyone.
Do we ever see Jimmy's parents?
No, but Russell always talks about how much of deadbeats they are.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense because, Lydia's lacking in self confidence and Suzanne tries to boost that up. Jimmy's lacking in love and a sense of belonging and feeling like he matters to anyone. So that's what she gives him to manipulate him, giving him something that he doesn't have so then she can take credit for it and say, "Well, I gave you all of this
Yeah.
and you won't even kill my husband? What the fuck?"
Well, like I can't believe I'm gonna say this word. Even when she's like edging him, like to like to talk to Lydia to get a gun so that they can kill Larry. It's like that whole scene is just like quintessential like sexual manipulation. Like she's fucking sucking him off, and then right before he's about to finish, she's like keeps talking about this thing just to like pressure him to do it like as soon as he can.
That's so gross. That scene made me feel so gross inside. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah,
don't even like watching this.
yeah, and you could just kind of tell the effect that Suzanne has taken on him, because I don't think he really gave a shit about Suzanne too much until she called him Jimmy or James. No, she called him James. But he was saying that nobody ever calls him James. Everyone calls him like Jimmy or like moron.
Hmm.
So I think like the small act of treating him like a normal person just like made him fall in love immediately.
Also taking him seriously.
Yeah, that too. Because it's just, I mean, everyone in school like calls him like an inbred or an idiot or like calls him like trailer park trash. Like obviously, no one like gives a shit about him like his peers. So I think Suzanne really, I don't think she planned for him to fall in love, but she definitely used it against him.
Yeah. I don't think it was her initial intention, but when she realized how much she could use it to her advantage, she was not about to back down on that. She doubled down and took advantage of it
Yeah.
fully.
Even having him and Lydia come over and then telling Lydia to get out so that they could have sex.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably the most disgusting thing in the movie.
Yeah.
I
When
just thought it was gross.
she makes Lydia walk the dog.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, she says something like, "Make sure you take him around a couple times. And make sure you use the bath. Oh, make sure you use the bathroom." That's all she says. Just like so she could like stay out there for as long as possible.
That so many scenes made my heart break for Lydia. I'm like, this poor girl just feels like she finally found someone who sees the good in her and values her and wants to help her succeed. And then time and time again, Susanna's using the hell out of her
Yeah,
just to boost herself up, get her own way.
yeah. Even when she's wearing the wire, like, because like usually when you watch like wire scenes in movies, it's just like characters acting nervous, like, what do you mean? Like we said we would kill him and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But like it seems like she like forgets she's wearing a wire and like is actually heartbroken and like says to Suzanne like I thought we were friends.
Yeah. That scene felt very real to me. Like, I don't think that was something that she was using to coerce a confession out of her. That felt more like she was actually hurting and didn't want what she thought to be true.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of how I interpreted that scene because like she's obviously nervous about wearing the wire and this is like a little moment where like Suzanne's like, "Oh, you lost a little weight." And she almost like touches like the box.
Oh, yeah.
And then like I at some point I feel like once like right before she pulls Lydia into like the side room or like the back room of the mall, like that exchange changes from like I'm trying to get her to confess to like why did you hurt me?
Yeah.
And then Casey Affleck with the CDs, like how the fuck is he gonna listen to his music now?
Yeah. Poor guy.
He's gonna have to like.
That's all he wanted in the whole entire
Yeah.
world. God forbid he just get his
He
CDs.
can't listen to the new Korn album. What other quotes do you have up?
I pulled this from the mockumentary section. So this is when Suzanne's more trying to manipulate the public to believe in her bullshit story. She says, "Hi, my name is Suzanne Moretto." No, wait, I'm sorry. Suzanne Moretto is my married name. My own name is Suzanne Stone. That's my professional name, Suzanne Stone. It's not like I have any negative feelings about the name Moretto. Moretto is the name, after all, of my husband, who I loved very, very much. And then it says she sniffles.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because she manipulates the audience too.
Yeah.
Which probably does go back to that point of why you're rooting for her to a certain extent from a point in the movie.
Yeah.
And it does a good job at it. I kind of love like media that manipulates the audience.
Yeah, and she's kind of like talking at you.
Yeah. Because like you think it is a mockumentary style because it's happened with Lydia, it's happened with Janice. I think it might have happened with somebody else. I know it eventually happens with the guy who runs the news station. So I think when you see Suzanne's thing, you think it's like, oh, this is part of the mockumentary style, so she's probably in the good somewhere.
Yeah, if she's the main focus of it, that means she's not in prison.
Yeah. And it does a good job hinting at it not being in the mockumentary style at all because of the white background. It's like, it's completely different from everything else. So when you see it for the first time, you're like, something's off with this cut.
Yeah, because everyone else is in like their natural environment,
Yeah.
like Janice is interviewed at the skating rink, and here's Suzanne with this glowy white background behind her. She can do no harm.
Yeah, and the even just, like, the background manipulation of the color white, because usually that's associated with, like, wholesomeness and shit like yeah,
Purity.
purity. So, I think seeing her and also the white kind of makes her stand out more. So, it's I know we're not talking about narcissism, but I think it kinda comes back out to wanting to be the focal point, or it could be seen as, like, her being pure of heart.
Yeah. I think it's both. She doesn't want anything in the background to detract from her being the center of attention.
Yeah, because, like, she is the focus,
Yep.
and I also think her shot is tighter than everyone else's because everyone has, like, a wide and stuff like that. They usually get their from their mid-torso up, but I'm pretty sure with Suzanne, it's literally from her shoulders up, which kinda
Yeah.
makes it a lot more intimate compared to everyone else's.
Yeah, more like she's talking directly to you, and it comes across that way more than the other interviews.
Right. So it absolutely does a good job manipulating the audience, and that's probably why we have that feeling of we wanna root for her to a certain extent,
Yeah.
because she doesn't really do anything bad for a while. She's just weird.
Yeah.
But like we were saying earlier, like with her going into the local news station and copying that NBC guy's speech, and even the implication that she like sucked the NBC guy's dick. I don't think she does though,
I don't know.
because Larry goes on his fishing trip. She goes to that, and she doesn't come back till later. But also, she doesn't get any job offers or anything like that. So
Yeah.
that's why I feel like she declines it.
Maybe she considered it, but didn't go through with it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Maybe thinking that she's better than that. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because I could see her doing it because it seems like she'll do anything to get what she wants.
Yeah, she's a good
Yeah.
manipulator.
But does she now thinking about it, I feel like she does do it. Because it seems like she has no problem killing her husband. She has no problem sleeping with a teenager and
That's
manipulating a
true. She'll
teenager.
kind of go to whatever extent.
Yeah. Or she didn't do it and she's like, I'm not gonna fumble this opportunity, I'll do anything to do it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like now just talking about it, I'm leaning towards that she does it.
I'd have to rewatch.
Yeah. Something that also something that's kind of interesting about this movie that I noticed at the last time is that usually when like a character is like hot and attractive, the director films it in a way where it's like, all right, I'm gonna show her cleavage and I'm gonna get a fucking shot of her ass. But Gus Van Sant films it in a way that feels like respectful, but also is attractive. The way it's shot, it's a lot more respectful, and it's more from what clothes she's wearing and costume design rather than like pointing the camera at her boobs and shit like that. There's only one time where like it's more of a I guess sexual shot, but Larry like smacks her ass once. But that's not really like the focus of the shot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think maybe part of the purpose was to make her manipulation more covert because she does use her sexuality to manipulate people, but it doesn't need to be done in such an obvious
Yeah.
way for it to actually be happening. So by not filming it in that kind of style where it's very obvious, it lets us think like maybe she's not manipulating people.
Yeah, maybe she is just stupid. Because something we talked about last episode is, do you think she's stupid or not? Because like we talked about that we thought she was pretty smart, other than she wasn't getting the like sucking dick joke, or like the story of some famous news TV person sucked someone's dick and like falsified a letter. Like she just like was not getting it,
Yeah.
and it does kind of bring a question of in the beginning, I think you're wondering, is she doing this on purpose?
I think she's kind of naive to her own faults because she's so consumed with the ways that she's so great.
Yeah. And also just If it has anything to do with getting what she wants, she seems naive. Because that's the only reason why she gets dragged out to the lake. She thinks like some guy is like a Hollywood executive and he ends up killing her.
Yeah.
So it seems like she's like ignorant to like, and maybe this also plays back to she does suck that guy off because she thinks he's gonna give her a job offer because of it, but then he doesn't do it, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's kind of unaware to her own faults and the ways in which she's not super intelligent and able to manipulate situations, and I think she doesn't wanna believe that people are capable of manipulating her.
Yeah,
She puts herself on a pedestal, she wants to believe that she's better than everyone else, smarter than everybody
yeah,
else.
like she's almost immune to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Which is partially why I think she preyed on children, because they were easier targets, because clearly someone her own age was able to easily manipulate her, but those kids weren't.
yeah,
So it kind of puts her in a higher position of power, like, "Oh, I can manipulate these children," but if it was someone her own age, I don't think they'd ever go with it.
yeah. Or it would have to be someone who's like less fortunate to fall for it.
Yeah.
Kind of like someone who's like comes from the background of Jimmy.
Yep.
And that's why I think Jimmy has the perfect setup for why he gets manipulated. Because he comes from this, no one, like, it doesn't seem like anyone, like, really, like, cares about him. Everyone overlooks him. No one respects him. So the fact that Suzanne respects him and, to his eyes, loves him, I think is probably the most devastating manipulation
Yeah.
compared to it. At least that's how I see it. But like, I understand why Lydia would probably, because Lydia also falls into that same camp where it doesn't seem like anyone respects her either and stuff like that. And Suzanne treats her with respect and as a friend. So both of those are kind of the same. I think Jimmy just has the love aspect that Lydia doesn't have.
Yeah. Well, I think Lydia kind of loved her as a friend, and because she doesn't have that in any other aspect of her life, that also is really devastating. But yeah, I can get it's not a romantic love, so they weren't physically involved.
Yeah. But they definitely had a friendship, at least to what Lydia had
Yeah.
thought.
And I think it's kind of interesting that Suzanne went the direction of manipulating children, because it almost shows a little bit of self-awareness. Because if she manipulated an adult who has more resources, they would have been able to kill Larry and cover it up way easier than a bunch of kids who are going to do it very sloppy.
Yeah.
But I think there's part of her that recognizes that she'd never get away with it.
Yeah, I think it'd be harder to get rid of an adult. Because I feel like manipulating a kid, she could eventually just move, and I mean, the kids aren't going to find her. But I feel like an adult would have that drive to go seek her out.
And there's the lower position of power.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because when it's both adults, they have like an equal measure on each other.
Wouldn't say that. It depends on who it is.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like in terms of potential resources. I mean, it's not like
Well,
Jimmy could go drive.
she could have gone for an adult who is poor or in some way exploited, or
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
and then the final quote that I was looking at is right after the one that I just read. Oh, okay. So she's talking about how the Moretto family is like her family.
Yeah.
She says, Joe and Angela Moretto, and of his lovely and talented sister, Janice Moretto, who have been like a second family to me, and who I regard as I do my own family, particularly since my recent tragedy. My recent tragedy is what I really picked up on there. My tragedy.
Yeah.
She named off his immediate family who were absolutely devastated by his death, and she goes, my tragedy.
Yeah. That is, because that's like a subtle line to bring up. Just literally that one word really does kind of change that whole sentence.
Yeah, everything revolves around her. Larry's death is not Larry's death, it's her husband's death.
Right.
Everything goes back to her.
And I think even as an audience member, because like a movie will throw so much shit at you, and it's hard for you to pick it up. But I feel like on some sort of level, you do pick up on it. You just don't know why. And
Yeah.
I think that one word change instead of our tragedy, my tragedy, kind of helps the audience root for her for a little bit or get on her side for a little bit until like shit starts going south.
Yeah. Because you want to believe that it was devastating for her, and that's why she regards it as her own tragedy, because she went through this horrible grieving process and boo hoo, poor Suzanne. But she just does it for the sake of eliciting that reaction, is
Yeah,
making people feel bad for her.
right. And it is interesting because now that I think about it, all of this takes place after the opening with like the opening title card with newspapers saying that she killed her husband.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the movie tells you exactly what you need to know and then kind of like forgets about it and tries to manipulate you into thinking that she has nothing to do with it.
Well, you end up in denial that she did this, and you want to see her prove it to you that she didn't.
Yeah.
So you find yourself looking at little moments where you're like, "Oh, well, you know, her husband was not supportive of her career," and just picking out these little things of like, well, maybe she's innocent, or maybe he was really horrible to her and he deserved it. You just want to find the redeeming qualities
Yeah.
because of the way she pitches it to you, like, oh, I went through such horrible things.
Yeah. And even like the opening, like with Janice, she doesn't talk about Larry's death immediately. It's kind of starts off like a love story, like, oh yeah, he Larry wouldn't date any other girls in the town, but when Suzanne came in, like she stole his heart and stuff like that. And it kind of starts off super innocent,
Yeah.
especially after the title card is like, this woman murdered her husband, fucking metal music.
Well, I think part of the reason that you really want to believe Suzanne in the beginning is because she's doing the interview and she's not in a prison uniform and
Yeah.
she's alive to do the interview. So you want to believe she's innocent cuz like I was watching a crime show the other day, and one of the people that they were interviewing was one of the key suspects,
Uh-huh.
and he's not in a prison uniform. So I was like, well, guess he didn't do it. It gives you that automatic bias
Yeah.
of, okay, this person's innocent. So that's the lens that I'm going to view things through
Yeah.
going in.
And it's funny you mention that because I just remember Jimmy has a couple mockumentary stuff towards the end, and you see him in that prison uniform.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, like, but at that point, you kind of already know how the movie is going. So I think there's a reason why they hold off on showing Jimmy in that uniform. But I'm surprised they don't show that earlier to be like, oh, this guy just killed her husband.
Yeah. I wonder what was the decision there.
Probably to, because I think giving away any inkling of who may have done it.
Yeah, maybe it probably would have taken away from all of the scenes where she's getting to know them and she starts uh doing her little film with them
Yeah,
and bonding with them and lifting them up. That if you knew that he was going to end up in prison, that would have kind of taken away from that.
right. And it does a good job because the first half completely focuses on her obsession with being on television. And then I think the midpoint of the movie, or basically the midpoint, is when Larry says, like, your news thing obviously isn't going anywhere. That's like her snap moment.
Yeah.
And it seems like everything from that moment is just the complete build up to how is she going to murder her husband.
Yeah.
And it does, the scene does a good job framing it because, I mean, besides like the tunnel vision shot where everything goes black around Larry and she's completely focused on Larry, Kidman's performance is just a complete dead stare. Like she's completely spaced off. Like, I can't believe this guy is, like, saying this to me right now.
It's I don't know, the shots with her kind of uncanny valley type feeling because you just feel unsettled
Right.
when you look at her. You're like, "There's something weird here,
Yeah.
and I can't put my finger on it."
And that's why her performance is so good.
Yeah.
It's she has this like cute innocent girl thing going on, but in like a second it goes from like something's wrong with this person.
And you also kind of start believing that maybe with some of the things with her not understanding the joke and her being so dedicated to this absolute nothing position, you start to think like she's just a silly, goofy ditz with nothing in her head. She couldn't do anything wrong. She's just dumb.
Yeah. She's just because the movie just kind of plays off that she's the pretty girl.
Yeah.
And I think characters underestimate her because of that.
Yeah, so you don't want to think that she's capable of doing the horrible things that she actually did.
Right. And kind of going back to what I was talking about, how filming her is kind of in a respectful way, and it's more so done with wardrobe. The shots with her are kind of more wide shots, and her clothing is what really makes her stand out from everyone. So it's kind of like everything about her, like her light blonde hair, her lighter color clothes, and just putting her in a shot makes her the center of attention.
Yeah, and it kind of tricks your brain to make the automatic assumption that she's harmless.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Because if you look at her and she doesn't have that like something's wrong with this person look. She
Well,
seems so innocent.
I don't know. It's something, I don't know if this is a me thing, but even if you look at the cover of the movie,
Oh yeah, because
I don't
I had to buy it on Criterion or of a Criterion collection. So
there's something about her face where you're like, there's something off about her.
yeah, and I feel like it has something to do with her eyes. Because her smile seems so charming. I feel like if you put that cover her eyes, and you're like, oh, that's a pretty smile, and then you lift it off, and it's just something with her performance is so good.
She's like a snake.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you could tell something's off with her. Something's not right.
I think part of it is also how she never drops this happy, cheery act ever. Even when talking about how her husband dies, she's got a big smile on her face and then she cries these crocodile tears and you're like, this is her affect is so not matching what she's talking about.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
bizarre.
Absolutely, yeah. And the movie takes so long, not so long, but it takes a while to get to that point that it's kind of well paid off. Because it's kind of funny. This movie tells you basically everything you need to know in the first like minute. The newspapers.
Yeah.
It tells you like this person was a Weather Channel reporter. She's accused of killing her husband, who was like part of this restaurant. It literally in the title card, it tells you everything you need to know. But the movie goes on, and I think part of it is the mockumentary style, because you get to see this insight. It's kind of like you're looking past the headlines, you know?
Yeah, part of me went in expecting it was going to be her redemption story.
Yeah, and I think when you go in with that mindset, it really you do kind of root for her to a certain extent, and it's weird because you would think telling the audience everything that's happening would decrease tension and stuff like that, and like be like, oh, I don't give a shit about this movie. I already know what's gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
But it's like you're so captivated. I think because of the characters, every
Yeah.
character has their own thing going on. Suzanne is probably like I would say one of my favorite film characters, just because there's so much going on with her. That performance is fucking fantastic.
Not as good as the AMC commercial.
Not as good as the AMC commercial. Well, also, I feel like this movie recontextualizes that commercial. It makes me think she's crazy. It makes me like like this person's gonna fucking kill me in this movie theater.
She's like threatening you to stay in your seat. She's like, you will enjoy this movie.
But I feel like there's some of that to die for performance in that AMC commercial. It's kind of funny.
Vaguely threatening.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to be mean to Nicole Kidman because I'm obviously not, because I'm praising her performance. But I feel like when you watch that AMC commercial after watching this movie, you're like, something's wrong with this person. Like, why do they want me to come to AMC theater so much?
Why is she by herself
Why
at
is
the
she by
movie?
herself?
Where did everyone else go?
Why
did she
is
just
she
slaughter?
watching Jurassic World?
Part of me is like, did she slaughter everyone in the theater to have this theater to herself so she could sit there and watch her own performances while eating popcorn maniacally?
There's actually this funny thing in The Northman. She's in it, and she has this like this sex scene in it. In the movie, it's a weird kind of movie, and it takes place during Viking times. So Nicole Kidman is the mom of this character, and her son like goes to rescue her, and then she tries to have sex with the son.
What the fuck?
It's a kind of a weird movie, but it's kind.
Oh, the Oedipus complex.
Now that I think about it,
Freud would have a field day with that.
her character is kind of similar because like she manipulates everyone to just like stay alive and stay in power. And I think her son at the time was like overthrowing this like Viking town. She was like, "Oh, I'm gonna fuck him so that way I can still be in charge." I think I'm talking about the Northman, but it's completely different. Anyways, so she has a scene where she has sex with her son, and somebody edited the AMC commercial
Oh
when it
my
cuts
God.
to the screen. It cuts to the scene of her sex.
Oh God. She just is watching her own
Sexy
sex tape.
Oh man. But anyways, yeah. Also, I think they're coming out with a new AMC ad. I keep hearing rumors about it. I haven't been to AMC in a minute.
God,
So
please.
the last time I saw, I think last time I went to AMC was when I saw Dune 2. So that was a little while ago, considering I saw that early.
I feel like as soon as that commercial stops being screened, people are gonna be like, "Oh, I kind of miss it."
I wish. Why are there movie theaters playing ads in front of the fucking movie? Like, I'm already there. Like, I hate that. And then it's like you remember when when you'd watch DVDs and they had ads for DVDs. It's like putting an ad for the DVD in front of the DVD I already fucking own. Like, I don't care. I'm already watching Batman Begins. Why do I need to buy it again? I hate. Why the fuck is there a movie theater commercial in front of the theater I'm already in? Air it on TV.
And it's also like it's fake advertising too. When they show the AMC commercial, they show this Coke in a glass cup fizzing and it
Fizzing up.
looks really nice.
Oh my god, you're right. There's 2 of them. Oh my god. AMC just wants to waste my fucking time every time I go there. I'm spending 20 minutes worth of fucking trailers, which fine, I'll watch 20 minutes worth of trailers, but then I have to watch fucking Nicole Kidman for either like 7 seconds, 30 seconds, or a minute, because there's like fucking 3 different variations of that ad, and I have to watch the stupid fucking Coca-Cola thing, and then there's probably some other fucking ad that I'm forgetting about.
I know you feel extra special though when they're like, "Thanks to our members."
Oh, yeah, the AMC A-list. Yeah, because I'm part of
Yeah.
the AMC A-list. Also, another extension to that fucking ad. It's like-
I love when they're like, "Don't talk during the movie," and it cuts.
Silence your phones.
No, it cuts to like
Oh, do you want some popcorn?
the wave where they go, "Do you want some popcorn?" I have to say that out loud every time. Every time.
God, because I went to the Alamo Draft House like a month ago, and they don't have that. It's like great. It's like they don't play trailers because it's like one of those theaters where you order like food and like they'll bring the food
Oh,
to
I
you.
love those.
They don't play any trailers. They play, well, they do, but so like I went to go see The Fugitive. So what they did was they played a bunch of like Harrison Ford action movie trailers from that era. So they showed like a trailer for like Air Force One where he plays the president and he's like trying to save his family from this airplane. They played a trailer from like The Witness, which is the only movie he's ever got nominated an Oscar for. So they play all this stuff that's kind of like building you to like the era in which The Fugitive came out.
Immersion.
Yeah, it's immersing. It's immersing me into what I'm about to watch. And then I think there might be like a slight thing where it's like, okay, make sure you don't talk, and this is how the Alamo Draft House works. You write down your thing on the card, and then somebody will come get it. It's all I need to know. I don't need to fucking watch Nicole Kidman talk about how great this place is. Where I can get my fucking fizzing Coca-Cola that
Don't
tastes
even
like shit.
act like you're gonna serve it to me in a glass.
I know, right?
AMC.
And it's always fucking flat. Those freestyle machines suck. I worked at a movie theater with those freestyle machines. They suck ass.
I still like the cherry vanilla Coke that they have.
The only good thing about them is you can do
good.
those special flavors. But I don't even like fruit. And that's
Yeah.
half the fucking options. And it's like,
It's
I
like
mean,
here,
yeah, I could get a vanilla Coke, but great.
you can have Coca-Cola with 18 different fruits in it.
Yeah, awesome. Great. I can't wait to have my fucking mango Coca-Cola.
In a paper cup.
Favorite cup, yeah. We should talk about the movie now. We should go back to the movie. Go on this fucking AMC tangent. Oh my fucking god.
I have nothing left to say about the movie.
Should we send us off? Because I didn't record an outro because I hated it. So tell people to follow us on Instagram and TikTok.
Oh, okay.
If you enjoyed the show and want to hear me rant about the AMC ad, follow us on TikTok or Instagram.
And Spotify and all that. Apple.
Yep.
Whatever.
We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, Amazon Music, and some other app called Castbox. I don't know what the fuck it is, but wherever you listen to your podcast, or if you want to listen to us on YouTube, you can do that wherever you want to listen to us.
Send us some love.
Send us some love. If you're listening on Spotify, there's some polls. I had a poll from Shutter Island of whether or not you thought the experiment worked or not. So make sure you fill that out. I don't know what the poll will be for this episode. Maybe it'll have something to do with To Die For. Maybe it'll have something to do with Nicole Kidman AMC ad. But yeah, and also give us a rating. Share with your friends.
You know you want to give us 5 stars.
You want to give us 5 stars. Yeah, this AMC tangent.
I'm manipulating you right now. You want to give me 5 stars.
Yeah, hopefully the audio doesn't fuck up like last time where I accidentally recorded it too loud. So,
well, that's a you problem.
It is a me problem. All right, well, thank you for joining us at the Psyched Up Cinema Weather Center.
Bum bum.
Bum bum.
Bye.